Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Animaking 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Push Himself to His Limit. Remember to give this one to 300 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, stay in tune because I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto was born in the Uzumaki clan. And also, what if Naruto is a Sasuke king? So stay tuned for those and I do hope that you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Animaking and Animaking 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Animaking family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto went to visit Koyoke, as the both of them had a wonderful time together. As the ring that he gave her, it was rather beautiful, and it had the same seals inside of it. Koyoke could activate the seals now, since Naruto showed her how to use chakra. Some time passed as Naruto sighed. She did triple amount of paperwork after Naruto revealed that he was the Jinchuriki to everyone. As the younger generation is wondering, why was their elder generation so mean to him because of that? And also, now that Naruto's heritage has been come out, the older generation was praising him, so they cannot go back on their words, less looking like a hypocrite. As Naruto did that to see which one of them is against him and which one of them is with him. Danzo was also pissed about this, the boy doing this a big pull, as Danzo realized that the boy is just like his father. Despite hating that man, Danzo respected him because of his smart thinking, and the boy is nothing less. Naruto came to Tsunade, as Tsunade had a mission for him. Searching through the files, Uncle burst to the window, as Tsunade was pissed, as she told Uncle that at least 300 times to not do that. As the both of them got a mission, Naruto was surprised when Uncle told him that she was dating Aruka. Some time passed after that as Shino, Naruto, Uncle and Ino went on the mission, as their mission was to investigate the port in a land of water, seeing that it was being destroyed by a local sea monster. Everyone claimed that it was a monster there. Arriving, Shino found the girl. Her name was Aisarabe, as she could transform. As this place brought up a lot of memories for Uncle, seeing that Orochimaru brought her here. Naruto got his information from the spy that was here for Jiraiya's group. It seems like Orochimaru came here 10 years ago, but he left. It seems like one of his lackeys are doing the experiments. So, they follow Aisarabe as a man named Amaki there. He was pissed at her as he smacked her down to the ground. As she apologized, having used to this, she don't really show any emotions, as he told somebody to hold them off. Naruto used a Rasen Shuriken and tear through the entire door. Well, his clone did it, seeing that it would backlash his hand. As the group was surprised at the amount of power inside that attack. Most of them first seen something so powerful. As they went inside, they were stopped, as Shino decided to deal with their man. As Naruto had a USB drive what he used to take all the information from the computer. After going off without Shino, they arrived to another section, as they were surrounded, as Uncle told Naruto to go ahead, as she and Ino would deal with this. As a lot of the monsters that they saw that were in the tube up ahead, these ones were a lot larger. But they were easy to go down, as Uncle and Ino stayed behind to deal with them, as Naruto dashed off. So yeah guys, it was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it for yourself. So, what do you say we begin this new episode? We begin this episode with Shino as he jumped away and dodged a hail of kunai. Having enough of this, Shino sent one of his female bugs out. It went over. It then started to release a huge pheromone all over the area, as his male bugs rushed towards it. Shino then heard a terrified scream from the man that was throwing the kunai at him in the corner, as he was attacked by the bugs that started to suck him dry. Shino didn't pay many attention, he just went to help his friends. Meanwhile, Naruto finally stopped running as he heard explosion, as he channeled chakra to his ears. They seemed to be coming from the southwest. Looking over, Naruto channeled chakra to his eyes. When he did, he saw two transformed people attacking a ship. Naruto recognized one of them. It was Aizurabi, but she wasn't attacking, she was just standing there. The other, he did not know, but he was going to go to the assumption that he was the one who made Aizurabi what she was. Not wasting one more minute, Naruto dashed off to the ship, leaving a crescent wave in his wake. Meanwhile, Amaki was having the time of his life as he shot another the water ball smashing into the port of a ship. Who knew that this form would be so exhilarating? He never felt so powerful in his life before, as he right now was a god of the sea in this form. He could do whatever he wanted. It was all so easy. If he'd know this, he'd have used this form a long time ago, rather than having that stupid girl do it. Speaking of that stupid bitch, he turned his head. "You worthless girl, start doing your job and help me destroy the ship," Amaki said. Aizurabi looked at him and she bit her lip. "When are you going to give me my cure?" she said. "I've been doing this for 4 years now, and you still haven't given it to me." "Cure?" Amaki said, as he burst out into anger. He swam over to Aizurabi as he grabbed her throat, starting to choke her. "You stupid worthless girl, what makes you think I bothered to even make a cure for you?" The man laughed as her eyes widened. "I am the one who make you what you are. Into my weapon. Why would I want to unmake you? Your only purpose was to do the job until I collected enough data, and then I would simply dispose of you. And since now I'm in this form, I feel I could gather the rest of the data myself. I think I'll just get rid of you." Aizurabi was crying as she was trying to get out of his grip. He was about to crush her throat when something happened. His arm was sliced off by an invisible blade of wind. He cried out in pain, falling back into the water as he held the stump where his arm was once. "You know, I'm not sure what you said, but it's not polite to make a woman cry." Aizurabi turned to the source of the voice and saw the person who helped her pick up her groceries. "Who the hell are you?" Amaki yelled, gritting his teeth in pain and frustration. Naruto sheathed his blade. "I thought it would be obvious. I'm the guy here to kick your ass." Amaki grit his teeth. "That will never happen. Now, you will face my greatest creation." Naruto looked over, his eyes widened when he saw what was coming out of the water. Meanwhile, the three made it out of the place. Shino, Anko, and Ino, as they blew up the entire place with the monsters, the walls caving down on them. "I am never doing that again," Ino said the huff. "Yeah, I know what you mean." Anko was cut off before she could finish that, as pain shoot through her body. She collapsed on the ground, holding her mark on her neck. "Anko Sensei," Ino said, as both Ino and Shino rushed over. Anko collapsed down. The last thing she saw was Ino saying something before darkness. Meanwhile, acting fast, Naruto released his gravity seals. As he moved off, grabbing Aizurabi, creating a clone in mid-air, he handed the clone Aizurabi as he pulled his blade. As Naruto dodged a tentacle of water and he sliced it off. However, that thing, that is all Naruto could describe it as. It was a large, dense glob of water with a red orb in the center and a lot of tentacles. A new one simply growed out as it started to attack him. Amaki burst out laughing. "There is no way for you to defeat my greatest creation. Even lightning is ineffective against my ultimate creation." As Naruto continued to slice off limbs that just regrew, he tried to think of a way to defeat this thing. Let's see, that guy said lightning was ineffective. If I go by what he said, that means elements don't work the same as normal. This means it isn't really alive or not enough to be affected by pain. That means the only way to kill it is to evaporate the water and attack the core. I should be able to destroy it that way. That means I need a powerful fire jutsu to do that. Unfortunately, I don't know any fire jutsu above C rank, since it's not my affinity. And I can't summon toads since they are freshwater amphibians, and I don't want to be on their bad side like Erosenin. An idea came to his mind. "Hey, Kyuubi. You need my power, brat," the Kyuubi said. "Yeah, I need your power to fry and evaporate this creature." Very well. I suppose I did offer to help you for now at least. However, do not embarrass me and make this battle amusing. Naruto did not respond as he felt like a bit chakra run through his system. As 3 tails flared up around him, he believed that would be enough. As the next tentacle came down on him, 2 of the tails behind Naruto shot out, swiping it to pieces. As Naruto leaped forward, the remaining tentacles came at him as he spun his body. As he evaporated all of the tentacles, they couldn't touch him because of the deadly red chakra around him. As he then extended 3 tails forward, he jammed right into the center, evaporating the water as Naruto released it in a boom. A Rasengan formed in his hand in a second, as he drive it right into that strange orb, as it exploded upon contact. Ambaki started to step back, seeing his ultimate creation destroyed. As he then bumped into something, he then heard a swirling noise. He jumped away, but it was too late. Naruto flashed in front of him, slamming a Rasengan right into him, as he was then skidded across the water before slamming down over to the surface. As he lay face down, the clone Naruto went over and grabbed him by his cloak and threw him over his shoulder. Meanwhile, the real Naruto went over to the clone that he greeted earlier. As Aizari was crying, he placed a hand on her as she jumped. "Hey, are you okay?" As she turned her bloodshot eyes on him. "How can I be okay?" she said. "He lied to me. Now, I will never be turned back to the way I was. I can never be human." As tears streamed down her scaly face. "You know, there may be a way to cure you," Naruto said. She looked up at him in shock. As she then lowered her head. "What do I have to do to receive the cure?" "Well, you'll have to come back to Konoha with me. Unfortunately, the woman that can cure you is also the leader of our village. So, she can't just leave whenever she wants. However, after that you can just leave if you want, or stay there as a citizen and start a new life. I'll leave that choice up to you, that is if you want to come back to Konoha, that is." Aizari scanned him, trying to see if he was lying. She has already been tricked once, and she did not want to get her hopes up again. But after several minutes her shoulders slumped. Even if he was lying, she did not have a choice. "Okay, I'll go back with you," she said, as she changed back into her normal form, the scales still on her neck, on her hands. "Right, well, now all we have to do is wait for my Naruto!" a voice cried out as Naruto turned to see Shino and Ino. As Naruto frowned as he did not see Anko. He then realized that she was being carried on Shino's back, unconscious. As Naruto stopped in front of them, as he looked at Anko who was muttering in her sleep. "What happened?" Naruto asked. "We don't know," said Ino. "We just managed to get to that creepy place with the fish people when Anko started to cry out in pain and grabbing her neck, and then she passed out." Naruto looked over at Shino, who simply nodded in agreement as he sighed and gave his orders. "Alright, I want you to go back, Shino, and place Anko in the hotel bed. Ino, I want you to escort my clone and Aizari to the hotel as well. If they deny you access, you may threaten them, since I have placed this girl under my protection. I'll go over to the dock and tell the people about the ship and see if they need assistance. After that, we will leave." "Understood." "Yes, okay," they said. As Naruto cracked his neck as he too headed off, glad for the most part the mission was over. Moments later, Anko, all she could feel is pain, pure pain, as standing in front of her was Orochimaru. Why did you do this to me?" she said. "You should be proud, Anko," said Orochimaru, a sick twisted smile on his face. "You survived. Now, come with me." He reached out to her, but Anko slapped away his arm. After doing this to her, she couldn't believe it, their own sensei. As Orochimaru simply chuckled. "Very well, if that is your choice." As he stepped out of the room, closing it behind him, as darkness consumed her, Anko snapped open her eyes, as she was on a boat because she could feel the bed that she was on, it was swaying a bit. She was about to get up when she heard a voice. "Glad to see you're awake." As she turned to see Naruto writing in a folder. A few seconds later, he shut the folder. "Huh, you've been out for a while. How do you feel?" For one of the few times in her life, Anko smiled. "I feel good," she said. As Naruto looked at her with a raised eyebrow, noticing that she seemed more calm than before. He shrugged it off. What any of it was not any of his business. "That's good to hear." Anyway, we should be reaching the fire country in a few hours. You might as well get some more shut-eye. As Anko nodded as Naruto stood up and left the room. As Naruto left, Anko had a smile on her face. I left him by my own choice. It was my decision. He did not control my life every time. Time skip. Something was off. Given Snaddy's report, Naruto could tell that something was off. Aside from the obvious fact that Snaddy has not thrown anything at him for calling her Bachan. But there was something else that seemed wrong. She also refused to look him in the eye. Again, that was something that never happened, even when she was angry at him. And so, I was thinking that you can find some way to help Ayasurabe here, Naruto said. I figure, since you're the best medic around, you could find some way to get rid of her skills. Very well, Snaddy said, still looking down to her paperwork as she refused to meet his eyes. If you come into the hospital tomorrow at noon, I'll be able to check you over and see what I can do. Okay, Ayasurabe-san. That's fine, Hokage-sama, said Ayasurabe, with a small bow and a hopeful look in her eyes. In the meantime, I will have Shizune find a place that you can stay. After I check you over and see what I can do about your skill problem, you can decide whether you want to stay here or leave. Shizune. As Shizune walked inside. Yes, Nari-sama, said Shizune. I want you to help Ayasurabe here find a hotel for the night. Naruto has told me that you will be paid, so you don't need to worry about cash. As Snaddy gave a few papers to Shizune. As Ayasurabe nodded one more time as she looked at Naruto. As he gave her a small smile, she nodded at him as well as she left with Shizune. As the other three left. As Naruto looked at Snaddy, she was not looking up at him, as she could feel his eyes staring down at her. What's wrong, Naruto asked. Nothing's wrong, she said. Why do you ask? As she still looked down to her paper. Well, aside from the fact that you did not try to throw something at me for calling you Bachan, you're not looking at me, you're doing work, which you always complain about doing. As he crossed his arms. Nothing's wrong, said Snaddy, putting on her best poker face as she looked at him. I'm just a little tired, that's all, and I want to get this work done before I get another batch. As Naruto frowned deepened as he tried to find out what could be wrong. Did you get the results of my Kekigenkai test, he asked. He then saw that small piece of emotion flashed across her face. It was not much. He was sure others would miss it. However, Naruto's an expert on reading others through their eyes, and he knew the emotion that she just displayed. Guilt. Now the question was what she could be feeling guilty about. Yes, your test did come in, said Snaddy, as she looked back down on her paper. After several seconds of not getting the answer, Naruto started to get impatient. And he said, she looked up. Yes, it came positive. Your ability to combine two elements to create a sub-element is a bloodline. Do you know who I got it from? The strand in your bloodline was found from DNA I got from your father, she said quickly. So, do you know why I have it and he didn't? Naruto asked. As she looked up, I can only assume that Ikayubi's chakra somehow jump-started your bloodline. The theory is it all bloodline came from them, so... Naruto nodded. Are you sure that you're alright? He asked. Of course, I'm just a little tired from all this work, she said. Naruto looked at her for a long minute, as he knew she was lying. As he knew that she was hiding something, yet he could not question her or demand answers. She was a Hokage. For now, he just nodded. I can see how your work would be tiring. I'll leave it to you, Bachan, he said. And with that, he disappeared in a swirl of water. Once he was gone, tears ran down Snaddy's cheek. Moments later, Naruto found himself at the academy as nostalgia hit him from his past, as he decided to check if Iruka was in. And that is how the first Hokage, Iruka, stopped, as he noticed none of the kids were paying attention to his lecture, some of them even sleeping and talking to each other. Several tick marks appeared in his head. Quiet down and listen, you brats, he yelled. As he used his big-headed jutsu, all the kids instantly shut their mouth. Iruka was about to restart his lecture when a voice spoke up. It seems your lectures are as boring as ever, said Naruto. Iruka and the class turned to see Naruto lean on the door frame. As Naruto got into the room, he noticed the kids had stars and hearts in their eyes, well, depending on gender. You should make your lectures more fun, Sensei. That is why they don't really pay attention. And I suppose you're an expert on teaching, Iruka asked with a tick mark on his forehead. But, in truth, he was happy to see Naruto. He smirked as the idea came to him. Well, since you're here, why don't you answer a few questions? That is why the students can learn what it is to be a real ninja of Konoha. Alright, that sounds cool, Naruto said. As soon as he said that, several arms shot in the air, every child asking for his attention. Iruka was about to quiet them down when Naruto spoke. Quiet. As all of them instantly shut their mouth, Iruka was shocked. The voice, it just loomed over the area. Alright, Naruto said, if you have a question, simply raise your hand. I'll call on you to ask. As they all raised their hand as Naruto pointed at the boy at the front row. Is it true what you said about your dad sealing the Kyuubi inside of you? Iruka was about to say something when Naruto raised his hand. Yes, it's true. The Kyuubi cannot be killed due to it just a mass of pure chakra with a conscience. So my father did the only thing that can defeat such a creature. He sealed it inside of me. This time, he chose the girl in the back row. But why did he seal it inside of you, she asks. To be honest, I don't really know. I'm unsure if he chose me because I was the only child available, or just some other purpose. But if you were the leader of your village, would you really ask someone to sacrifice their child in such a way? A Hokage's job is to protect the village, even if it means sacrificing yourself and the things you hold dear. As he pointed to another boy, does it bother you that he chose you? Well, yes, for a while it did. You have to understand, until I turned 12, I never knew about the Kyuubi. It is only when a traitor told me that I found out. He told me that the Kyuubi was inside of me, and that a law prevents anyone but me from speaking about it. In fact, if not for Iruka sensei here, that man would have killed me. Several of the kids looked over at Iruka. For a while after that, I did blame my father. How would I not? I had no clue why he had chosen me. I did not even know why he was my dad until a year later. But it doesn't affect me anymore. To be honest, I'm glad he chose me, since it means no one has to suffer like I did. Many of the kids stared at him in awe that he would take on such a responsibility, as some of the girls were actually crying. Later that day, Naruto says he placed down his bowl of ramen. As he thanked Amy one more time, Iruka was sitting beside him. Good stuff, he said. As Naruto turned towards Iruka, the smile on his face, Iruka looked at him. What's wrong, he asked. Why don't you tell me how you and Uncle got together, Naruto said, in an innocent tone. Iruka choked, causing Naruto to laugh. Well, you see, I was, As Naruto chuckled some more. Wow, Iruka sensei, I never think I see you so flustered. Well, I suppose I could tell you. It actually started when I found her at a bar, completely drunk, he said. The next day, this was the second time Naruto was at the hospital, despite being sick. And it was because of one, Uncle Miyarashi, as she was sitting on the bed, as she had on nothing on her top half, showing her breasts full out, as Iruka was sitting beside her, one hand in her hand. He was there for her emotional support, as Uncle had came to Naruto since he said that he would look at the seal, as Iruka trusts Naruto not to be a pervert. Well, seeing that he did create a perverted jutsu when he was younger. Alright Uncle, I want you to take this pill, Naruto said. After that, I'm going to take off the binding on the cursed mark. After that, I want you to activate it so I can see it entirely. Thanks to the pill, you should not feel any of the pain when it's normally active. Now take the pill. Uncle swallowed the pill whole, as she did. Naruto move around to her back. Unsealing his special Fuinjutsu brush, he started. As he created a counter seal to get rid of the binding seal. When it was done, he placed a hand on her neck and started channeling chakra into the seal. As the seal started to melt off, like someone placed acid on it, the binding seal had kept the curse mark seal in check. Alright Uncle, please release the cursed seal, he said. Uncle started to channel her chakra and her negative emotion into the seal, causing a black flame tattoo to spread across her body. It was exactly like when he saw Sasuke use it. When it was done, Naruto went to work, as he pulled out a blank scroll and started to copy what he saw. As this went on for a good half an hour. Once he saw everything was perfect, he spoke. Alright, deactivate the seal. With a nod, she started to call the cursed seal back, as Naruto started to apply a more advanced binding seal than one she had on. Alright, it's all done, Naruto said. That seal should keep it from even twitching until I get a chance to remove it. As he rolled up his scroll and placed it into a pouch. Alright, now why don't you guys just enjoy yourself? I should be able to find a way to remove it in a month. Confident, aren't you, kid? Said Uncle with a grin. But she was really hoping what he said was true. I think I have a right to be confident. After all, Ero-sensei did admit that I'm better than him in Fuinjutsu. Idiot, don't insult the Sani with such Respectful titles, said Haruka, but Uncle just laughed. I just call them as I see them, Naruto said. And any man could call himself a super pervert. Doesn't really care. Anyways, I'm gonna see Bachi and see if she have a mission for me, Naruto said, as he left the room. Arriving at the Hokage's tower, Naruto was shocked. Aizurabi? As Aizurabi blushed. Hello, Naruto-kun, how are you doing today, she said. As Naruto blinked, realizing that the scales were completely gone, and she was dressed in a yellow sundress that hugged her tightly. Despite not being a kunoichi, she had a great figure. It must be because of all the swimming that she did. Naruto mind rebooted. I'm doing good. And how about you? I see that you went to see Snade. Aizurabi nodded. Yes, I went in early this morning. Apparently the process was easier than she thought it would be. Aizurabi then blushed in embarrassment. She gave me an explanation but I didn't really understand any of it. Afterwards she said I could work here, and Shizune would work in the hospital. That's awesome, said Naruto. To be honest, a lot of her explanation will go over my head as well. It's good to see that you got a job already. I guess this means you're going to stay. Aizurabi nodded. Yeah, I mean I really don't have anywhere to go, and she looked at Naruto with a blush. Naruto knew what it meant, but he pretended not to notice it. I'm happy for you, he said. So, is Bachan in, he said. Aizurabi giggled at the name. Yes, she is. She actually sent an envoy to find you. But since you're here and they aren't, I guess they're still looking. Thanks, Naruto said. Without knocking, he opened the door. Hey Bachan, I heard you were looking for me. Tsunade, who was sitting inside, as she looked up at Naruto, hiding away all of her guilty emotions on her face. Yes, I did. I am not sure if you're aware or not, but in 1 month the Chunin exams will be coming back to Konoha. I was not aware of that. I take it you have a mission that involves the Chunin exams for me. I hope it's not another invasion, Naruto said in a dramatic tone. Don't even joke about things like that, kid, said Tsunade. But strangely enough, there was no malice in her voice. As Naruto was taken aback by that, usually she would say some pissed off things and be a little bit angry, but now she was just calm talking to him. But yes, I do have a mission for you involved in the Chunin exams. You, along with 2 other Jonins, will be acting as proctor for the exam, she said as he threw him a scroll. Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. He never expected to be a proctor in Chunin exams. He has always been a fighter type shinobi. But it did sound fun. Alright, who are my partners, he asks. Time skip. Man, that woman dragged you into this troublesome job too? Naruto looked over at Shikamaru, who was going to be one of the proctors for the exam. Yeah, she did. I'm surprised though that she would choose you for something like this. You're so lazy, Naruto said. You know that you're also something of a oddity for this mission as well, said Kakashi, as he flipped a page in his book. Yeah, but so are you, said Naruto. As they know why the both of them were chosen. They were supposed to show the strength of Konoha by having the Copy Ninja and the second, Yellow Flash. It will make a huge statement on how powerful Konoha is. This will make more clients want to hire them, knowing that 2 powerful shinobis are part of elite forces. So anyway, there are 3 parts in this exam, Naruto said, as he looked at his mission scroll. He had already memorized it, but it never hurt to read it over again. Yeah, Shikamaru said in a lazy tone. The Chunin exam is always 3 phases. The first are written tests to test the shinobi aptitude of looking underneath the underneath. Then you have the second stage, the test in the force of death. A test of teamwork to see if they have the ability to survive in a harsh environment. After that, if too many people pass, we have to hold a preliminary round to get rid of a few Genins. And the last test is a one-on-one tournament. Whoa, Naruto said. You know, Shikamaru, I think that is the first I ever heard you speak that long in a single go. Troublesome, Shikamaru said. As Naruto grinned, so who's gonna take which partner to ask? Personally, Shikamaru, I think you should be taking the IQ part. With your IQ, you could take a test and twist it to so many parts. Yeah, that does sound like you're right up my alley. Plus, I won't have to do such troublesome standing, said Shikamaru. Naruto's sweat dropped as he listened to Shikamaru's reason for not wanting to take any other part. Naruto turned towards Kakashi. What about you? I mean, we could go either way with the 2 that are left. Which one you want to take? I think I'll be good for the second test. I have an idea which I think would work better for it. Plus, having you as a 3rd proctor would work good for Konoha clientele. Great, just what I need, Naruto said with a groan. I almost feel like a trophy wife. Well, said Shikamaru, you're certainly troublesome enough to be one. You want to be careful, Shikamaru, Naruto said. After all, if your mom was to hear you say that. At the Nara compound, Yoshina, Nara, sneezed into the food that she was making. She got so mad that when Shikaku walked in, she started to hit him with a frying pan. Shikaku, who did not expect it, was sent flying into the ground as he was beaten into unconsciousness. Meanwhile, Shikamaru paled at what his troublesome mom would do if she heard about that comment. "I hate you, Naruto," he said, as Naruto merely laughed. Time skip. So why are we here again, Naruto asks, as he was dragged by his friends Kiba, Choji, Ino, and Sakura, as they were at a local bar. Seeing that he couldn't really get drunk because of the fox, he didn't see the point of going to a bar. "We're here because you need to." Kiba started to slur his words as he took another sip of sake. "The lightweight here is right," said Ino, making Kiba's face get an expression in somewhere that he wanted to growl at her and hate on her. "And while I don't feel like to get wasted, it's a good place to hang out," Ino said as she took a sip of her sake. Sakura nodded. "She's right. With all the things we do as shinobi, we should take an opportunity to relax." "Yeah, I suppose you're right," Naruto said. As he thought, he gave him a grin, and with all the goddamn council meeting I have to go to, seriously, I'm starting to get the picture while Bachan drinks so much. Having to deal with that group of pompous ass. "You know, you shouldn't be calling Tsunade-sama with such a disrespectful name," said Sakura, as she drank her non-alcoholic juice. Once upon a time she would have hit him for saying something like that, but she knew he wasn't a little boy anymore, and he would probably not take well to get that fist smashed in his head. Besides, he was right on Tsunade-sama drinking habit. It's a term of endearment, Sakura. I don't just give these titles to everyone, you know. Besides, she knows she loves it, she just hasn't realized it yet. Whatever, said Sakura. Speaking of the Hokage, said Kiba, took another shot of sake. She's hot, he said. Sakura smacked him on the back of the head while Ino kicked him in the shin as he cried out in pain. Idiot, don't be so disrespectful to Tsunade-sama like that. Kiba was about to reply when another voice yelled out, You bitch! As they turned their attention to see 4 men surrounding a woman. One of the men launched at her as she dodged to the left and smashed her fist into his face. He was sent flying back into one of the tables, breaking it. Naruto stood up as he realized who it was. His eyes widened. It was Yujiro. As Naruto realized she looked worse than when they first met, as her hair was all messed up and her eyes had bags under them and they were really bloodshot red. She was obviously drunk from the way she was swaying, and Naruto noticed several bruises on her face. Bruises that he was sure that she did not got from these men. Looks like she just came out of the hospital. Alright, who wants some more, she said, as she got into a sloppy taijutsu stance. You bitch, one of the men yelled out as he dashed towards her. Before he could reach her, Naruto smacked the man across his face as he smashed into a table. I suggest the rest of you run off, he said, looking at the other two. The 2 men started to stumble over themselves and a haste to leave. That was so romantic, Naruto-kun, Yujiro said, slurring her words. As she was about to fall, he caught her. Naruto turned towards the bartender. Sorry for the damage. Please put it under the tab name, Uzumaki Namikaze. Many of the patrons started to whisper at the name, recognize it and him. Sorry guys, Naruto said, as he then picked up Yujiro and threw her over his shoulder and he left with her. Who was that, said Ino, with curiosity and jealousy, and how did she know Naruto-kun? I don't know, but a drunk like her doesn't deserve someone like Naruto, said Sakura. Ino smirked. Why? Are you jealous, Sakura? Sakura's face turned the same color as her hair. What? I'm not jealous. I just don't think like someone like her deserves Naruto. Ino just grinned as Kiba made his presence known. She's hot, he said. Both Ino and Sakura looked at each other. They then spin around and smashed their fists in Kiba's face. As Kiba licked over Choji's food, as Choji looked down at his food and started to cry tears. Meanwhile, Naruto was in a bad situation as they were currently wandering around, as Yujiro refused to tell him where she lived and he did not remember. Worse than that, she was telling him some rather inappropriate things that she and Hayate used to do that should stay private. And did you know that Hayate is such a pervert, she said. I remember this one time when you wanted us to play with this one scene. It was from the Ichi Ichi book. As Naruto ignored her as she went into the details of their sex life, something in a million years he didn't want to hear about. Yujiro, not to be rude or anything, but can you please tell me where you live so I can escort you home? He then noticed that she stopped, as he had placed her down already. As she was shaking, thinking that she was cold, he stepped closer, but he saw tears streaming down her face. As he felt guilty on seeing that, it was feeling like it was his fault for being so abrupt. He always hated watching women get hurt. He placed his hand on her shoulder to try and comfort her. She looked up in his eyes, and the tears came even more. She lunged onto him and started crying on his shoulder, as he just started to whisper sweet nothing in her ears, letting her know that he was here for her. As he rubbed one hand down her back to try and comfort her. It seems like several hours, but it was only 15 minutes. As Naruto realized she fall asleep. Naruto sighed. She didn't even tell me where she lived. As he picked her up and started heading towards his house. Moments later, Naruto removed her shoes, as he placed her in one of the many rooms, and covered her up with the sheets. As she was mumbling Hayate's name in her dream, looked like she was having a nightmare. As Naruto sat there, while he had noticed how bad she looked while they met at the memorial stone, she looked worse for wear now. The bags under her eyes were more, showing that she barely got any sleep, and she was overworking herself with missions. And he saw that the injuries from her last mission have not fully healed yet. Knowing that she was a friend of Yujiro, Naruto talked to Anko, as Anko told her she wasn't doing well after Hayate's death. Anything that they all do to try and help, it didn't work. As Anko figured that Naruto could do something since they had a small history together a long time ago, and anything else they tried to do, it wouldn't work anyway. Unfortunately, Naruto didn't know where to start, but he would try to do something. The next morning, Yujiro woke up with a massive hangover as she groaned, sitting up in the bed. She slowly opened her eyes fully, as she realized she was not in her apartment or any of her friend's apartment. She looked around, as the place was nice though. It looked like some of the 4 and 5-star hotels that she had stayed at when she was dealing with nobles. The bed was a deep crimson color with soft and flushed pillows, as there was a walk-in closet over to the right side, and there was a dresser right beside her with a reading lamp on it. And there was also a bathroom. The carpet looked extremely soft and matched the color of her beds. The wall was a light blue that contrasted with the sheets on the floor. As she tried to remember what happened, she remembered that she went out on an S-rank mission. She almost got herself killed, facing off against an S-rank missing Nin and several other Chunin level ninjas. It was only thanks to one of her comrades carrying her back, as she was half dead. After she had woken up, she snuck out of the hospital like usual, as she went to look for her friends to get a drink. However, she did not find any of them, so she decided to get drunk by herself. After that, things got fuzzy. She remembered some kind of fight, and then felt bubbly, and then felt extremely safe. As she was unsure what to make of this, but that last feeling she felt, something that she hadn't felt since Hayate's death. He must be the person that lived here. As she got out of bed and checked herself, the only thing that was out of place was that she didn't have her shoes on. As she went to put on her shoes, despite her headache, she looked out the room. One side had a staircase and one side had a door. As she moved towards the staircase, walking down, making her way towards the first floor. Halfway down the stairs, she smelled a absolutely aroma. It was just so divine as she made her way down there. As she reached down there to see, she was surprised it was Naruto, as she saw him flipping pancakes. As she stared at the odd scene, as Naruto flipped the pancake once more. As Naruto turned, "Good morning, Yujiro-chan. How did you sleep?" he asked. She blinked. "Oh, I slept fine. How about you?" she asked. "Pretty good. Why don't you go and sit down till I finish? It should be about another minute or two." Unable to properly think, she just walked over to the seat. A few seconds later, Naruto came to her with a glass of orange juice and some pills. She raised an eyebrow. "They're hangover pills," Naruto said. "I came up with them when I was traveling with Erosenin, the man who'd always wake up in the morning with a massive hangover. I created those so he would get over it quickly, so he could train me more." She shook her head. It was just like Naruto to give someone with such authority as a Sanin a disrespectful name like that. As she remembered, she was a boy's bodyguard, and sometimes he barged in the Hokage, calling him old man. She took the pills and drank the orange juice. She was rather surprised how the headache disappeared so quickly. "That feels so much better. Thank you, Naruto," she said. Naruto grinned at her as he served her breakfast. "Not a problem, Yujiro-chan. You know I'm always willing to help a friend." As Yujiro looked down at the food and smiled. It was strange. The pancakes were rolled up. Stuffed inside of it was various fruits and some kind of cream cheese. She picked up a fork and cut a piece off. "What is this?" she asked. "Something I found in my mom cookbook," Naruto said. "They're called crepes. You will have to tell me how they are, since it's the first time I'm cooking them." As she looked at Naruto, quite surprised. Back when she was watching Naruto, he was a terrible cook. All he knew how to do back then was instant ramen. And that was all you had to do was pour water into it and put it into the microwave and set the timer. Still, it did not look bad, and it certainly smelled delicious. She took a bite. At first she was taken aback. This food was it was filled with so much flavor that it exploded in her mouth. Soon enough, all hesitation was gone as she was stuffing her face. She then stopped after hearing a laugh as she looked up to see Naruto laughing at her. She blushed in embarrassment. "So I take it, it's good," he said. Blushing in embarrassment, she put on her fork. "It's delicious," she said. "I honestly don't think I tasted something this good before." She looked over and noticed his plate was empty. "Aren't you going to eat?" "Oh, it wouldn't matter if I did, since I'm just a clone." Yuji looked at him in surprise. She did not realize she was talking to a clone the entire time. The real Naruto is probably just finishing up with his workout. "I was made to create you breakfast and keep you company until he got here." As she had to smile at his thoughtfulness, knowing how much he cared about her, and it stirred a weird feeling in her. As she watched the clone then poofed away. "Good morning, Yujiro-chan." As a smile was on his face as he sat down, he started to pile the crepes on his plate. "I'm pleased to know that you like my food," he said. "It's really good," she said. "Where did you learn how to cook?" "Well, when I was traveling with Erosenin, I got to try different foods beside ramen. After a while, I just wanted to try and cook for myself, so I went to a library and grabbed several books on cooking. And well, you see the result," he said. The rest of the meal was ate in a comfortable silence as Naruto hummed a tune, as Yuji was left to her own thoughts. As she was feeling confused as she ate there, a part of her loved it, this warm feeling that she has missed so long. Yet, another part of her felt like she was betraying Hayate, feeling what she had felt with him, and now feeling the same thing while she was with a different person. It felt like she was betraying him. As she couldn't stand it anymore, as her thoughts became more distraught, as she stood up. "Is something wrong?" Naruto asked. I'm sorry, Naruto. I have to go," she said as she headed towards the door. Before she could reach it, a pair of arms wrapped around her waist. "Eugeo." "What's wrong?" Naruto said. "Please talk to me." I can't," she said as she shook herself out of his arms and quickly bolted through the door. For a long moment, Naruto stood there, wondering how he could help the woman who helped him when he was a child. He closed his eyes, decided he would talk with Anko and Kurna when he got the chance. He looked over at the clock and noticed he had a meeting with Shikamaru and Kakashi in a little while, as he decided to head out his way. But guys, I'm going to end this episode right here. Stay in tune, I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto was the Otsutsuki King. And I'm also going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto was born in the Uzumaki clan. So stay in tune for that and I hope you guys enjoy. I'm out. Peace.